I still wonder to this day what would have happened if my friend opened the door. This happened a few years back. If I remember correctly, it was around 2018-19. I was at my friend's cousin's house. For the sake of remembering who I'm talking about without mentioning their names, I'm just going to call them friend number 1 through 3. My friend's cousin and him, and also one other. I think this happened in November/December. We were all at the crib watching horror movies and eating snacks. Nobody was home except for us and my friend's cousin's little bro, who was 9/10 at the time. I want to point out that I'm 16 now, so I was between the ages of 11-12, and so was the rest of us. Anyhow, we were watching the Nun movie and having a great time. I mean, I was scared out of my mind, but the others were not. I was also the smallest of the group, which didn't help either, considering that I was already scared the fuck out of my mind and my friends were pressurizing me to watch the movie and stop holding my hands over my face. It was late, probably 9 to 11 p.m. We were around halfway through the film when my friend number 1 saw the automatic motion sensor light go on in front of the garage. We looked out of the window but didn't see anything out of the ordinary, so we presumed a deer or something had activated the lights, so we continued watching the movie. A few minutes later we heard a knock on the door. Friend number 2 just about to open it before my friend's cousin shouted, "Don't open the door!" Everyone fell silent and the cousin said that his parents were not coming home before 2 a.m. We just looked at each other wondering who it could possibly be. We looked out of the window and saw an old-looking guy, probably in his late 50s, early 60s, with a hammer in his hand. We quickly turned the TV off and ran downstairs. We told his little bro to hop off his game and follow us. We ran to the laundry room and barricaded ourselves inside. He called his parents and told them about what we had just witnessed. Right after that, we called the police. We sat in the laundry room for a good 5 minutes in silence before we heard a window shatter. It was the upper floor bedroom window. He searched the upper floor in a few minutes until he started to come downstairs. It wasn't long until he tried to open the laundry room door, but he couldn't get inside thanks to the barricade. He was screaming and yelling for us to open it or he would kill us. But as soon as he started trying to get into the laundry room, we heard sirens coming from outside. He quickly stopped and started to run out from the house and broke the terrace window and ran. Police saw him running and started to pursue him. He was quickly caught and arrested in the woods outside of the house. Later, my friend's cousin texted me and told me that he didn't only have a hammer with him, but also a medium-sized flip knife and a loaded Glock. The police also found a bag of fentanyl on him. A fucking bag of it. I don't know how much fentanyl it was, but one thing was for sure. It was a whole lot. It had been a long time since, but I still wonder what would have happened if my friend opened the door. Need some advice? Hi, I was hoping that someone on here can give me some advice because frankly, I've gone from worried to terrified in the last few nights. I have brought this up with my family and they laugh it off like it's nothing, only reminding me that this is just like I'm a child again. Some backstory. I'm a 25-year-old male and I was a self-employed joiner, I guess handyman to you Americans. Unfortunately, I had a stroke back in April. Until then, I was perfectly healthy. But due to work stress and a family gene linked to them, I had one bad. This is all just context to why I recently moved back in with my grandparents. My rent wasn't cheap, and myself and my partner couldn't afford to keep living there without my income, so we decided, until I'm better, that we'll move back in with our families. It really sucks, and I wish she was with me right now through all of this. So last month, with the help of my brother and father, we moved me and my dog into my grandparents' fairly large house in the countryside. They have 3 bedrooms, a bathroom, and a large living room upstairs and downstairs. The kitchen, dining room, living room, another bathroom, and down a small corridor at the back of the house, 2 more bedrooms. It was basically like living in an apartment myself, without the worry of being in people's way, as my grandparents don't come downstairs unless it's to go shopping or for food. Now this is where things started to go from bad to worse. About a week ago, I caught what I think was the norovirus, and due to my current health, it unfortunately floored me. I was horribly sick and feeling tired all the time and losing my will to live. I would take comfort in the times I could sleep. In sleeping, though, I started to have this nightmare. I was lying in my room, and I could feel like someone or something was watching me from the corner of the room closest to the window. I couldn't see anything actually, but I know something was there. It unsettles me, like a stranger following you late at night and you don't know their intentions. This keeps happening. Each sleep, the feeling was there. In the last 2 nights, it's gotten worse. Saturday night was the first time I caught a glimpse of it. Like a man, a really tall man, made of pure darkness, like Vantablack in the heart of an abyss, dark. He was standing in the corner of the room where I felt like someone was watching me. I felt like the entire dream was only a few seconds long. I saw him and woke up immediately drenched in sweat. When I finally calmed myself down, I went upstairs to my grandparents' living room. I waited until they got up and I had a chat about my dream. When I told my grandma about it, she laughed and said I sounded like I was 5 years old again, talking about the scary monster in my dreams. The same scary monster. How as a kid, I would complain whenever I slept here because the scary man was watching me, until I refused sleepovers. Hearing all this scared the living daylights out of me and makes me want to leave, but I have nowhere else to go. My grandparents' house was the only family that had space for me and my German Shepherd. Last night, I was determined to keep myself awake all night and maybe find a friend's sofa to accidentally fall asleep on. However, it hit 4 a.m. and I couldn't prevent myself from sleeping any longer. I crashed. In my dream from last night, the man was moving, reaching out for me. You know when you have that feeling like you are in a dangerous situation? Like standing too close to a cliff edge. I felt that. Like whatever this thing was, I couldn't let it touch me or something very bad would happen. I'm not sure what, but something very bad. In my dream, I rolled over the bed and half stumbled into the floor with a slam, as it was inches away from touching me. In the moment I slammed into the door, I woke up in the exact same position as I was in my dream, with the exception that my dog was now there, heckles up and growling angrily in the direction that the thing was when I was asleep. This all but confirms to me that this isn't just in my head. I don't know what to do or where to go next. I'm scared I'm going to die. Does anyone know what this is or how I can protect myself? Please, please, can someone help me? Something is outside my door. The screams are deafening. My minutes are numbered. As I write this, I hear them outside. They have started to mimic my parents, and as I don't respond, the pounding on the door gets louder, getting louder and louder until the screams outweigh the pounding. I think I'm going mad. I don't think they can get in for now. Hopefully, this documentation of my experience helps someone. I recently moved to the middle of nowhere. I know it's a horror movie cliché, and if I knew the events that would transpire in the next week, I would have just moved back in with my parents. It was a nice 2-story house in the middle of the forest. I'm a veterinarian, so I made a decent living. Plus the house wasn't that bad of a price. I got a job at the vet clinic in town and moved into my new home. The first 2 days went great. I unpacked, and on the 3rd day, I started my job at the clinic. It was a great first day, and it was also a slow day, so I got to know my co-workers. When I got home that night, it was foggy, but I could have swore I saw something moving in the trees. I would have shrugged it off, but it looked too human. It creeped me out, and not wanting to take any chances, I hurried into my house, locked the door, and looked through the blinds. Nothing, just the trees and the fog. After that, I went through my entire house to make sure nothing was out of the ordinary. Call me paranoid, I know. How ironic, a paranoid person living in the middle of the woods, alone. After I made sure everything was in the ordinary, I went to bed. The next day, I was rudely awoken to a loud bang. I shot up out of bed and grabbed the baseball bat at the side of my bed. Slowly I went downstairs, and I heard a second bang at my front door. I peeked through the blinds and was met with a horrifying sight. A man wearing a deer head, holding a machete. I ran upstairs, grabbing my phone. I called 911. It took them 30 minutes to arrive, and by that time, the person was gone. I met with the officer outside and explained to her what happened. Officer Bailey.
This is not the first time that this has happened in the forest. What we can do is go on a walk through the forest. If it happens again, don't hesitate to call us.
Me.
This isn't the first time this has happened.
Officer Bailey.
I wouldn't worry. It's probably a homeless person on drugs. Again, if anything happens, don't hesitate to call.
I don't understand how a man wearing a deer head with a machete was a homeless person. Before I could say anything else, I saw her get into her car. With that, she was gone. I was back alone outside of my house. I was weirded out, but before I could think about it further, my phone buzzed. I checked my watch and realized I had work in an hour and a half. I got dressed and headed out. I got home late that night, and I noticed something very alarming. My front door was wide open. Instantly, I called the police. Once they got there, both officers told me to wait and entered my house. Apparently, there was blood on the hallway walls leading to my bedroom. I told the officers what had happened that morning, and they seemed to be a bit disturbed. They told me that this could be a cult connection, and that since these 2 incidents happened just hours between, they were going to station an officer outside of my house. That relieved me for a bit, but the blood on my wall really freaked me out. I cleaned it up and tried to go to bed. After what felt like hours, I finally fell asleep. The next day, I woke up and the officer was gone. I made a cup of coffee and texted my parents. They were really worried about me and wanted me to move back to my hometown. I couldn't just drop my new job and abandon my house. I told them I'd keep them updated and I'd be safe. And then I got a knock at my front door. I froze. After yesterday, I was a lot on edge, so I went to the blinds and peered through. It was Officer Bailey. I opened the door, and what she told me made my whole body go cold. The officer stationed outside of my house was missing. Apparently, they found his car in a ditch 10 minutes from my house, with a blood trail ending in the middle of the forest. She asked me if I saw anything, and I said no. After she left, I considered leaving town. This was all too much. Almost a week into living here, and weird stuff has been happening. I calmed down and decided to enjoy my day off, until I saw that man again, walking through the forest, holding a bloody machete. I saw him look towards my window, and I ducked. When I looked back up, he was gone. Then I saw at least 20 people walking up to my house. Some of them were wearing masks, but the ones that weren't wearing masks had wide smiles with bloodshot eyes or no face at all. I was terrified. I heard glass break downstairs, and I ran to my bedroom door, and I knocked my dresser in front of it. I grabbed my baseball bat and my phone. I called the police, but I got no answer. My mind was racing, and I heard footsteps moving through my house. I heard someone walking up my stairs, and then I heard the voice. The one voice I didn't expect to hear. It was Officer Bailey, trying to get me to come out. I ignored it and stayed silent. I didn't know what to trust. After a few minutes, it started banging on the door and screaming. It didn't stop for an hour. Now, it's been 16 hours. They're getting smarter, and I found myself close to moving the dresser and opening the door. The screaming is getting louder, the banging louder, and something cut the electricity. The light from the screen of my phone is my only source of light. I'm going insane. It's imitating my parents. I don't know what to do. I feel hopeless. The dresser is moving. Each pound on the door. I found a 90s kids show on VHS. I wish I had burned it. In my spare time, I am an avid VHS tape collector. For more nostalgic reasons, I try to find old shows from my childhood. Recently, I was in my city's local pawn shop, and I found a few different VHS tapes. Dexter's Laboratory, Hey Arnold, and one I didn't recognize, Sonny's Neighborhood. The box cover had a poorly animated kid with glasses, waving with a scene of houses behind him. Curiously, I looked it up on my phone, and I found no mention of it anywhere. I thought it might have been a local show for the local station. I decided to buy it, and that night I put it in my VCR. After the static cleared, a title card appeared. The episode was called New Friends. Instantly, the scene changed to a basketball court. There were two people. The one on the right I recognized from the box's cover. It was Sonny. Sonny.
Hi there, my name is Sonny. Can I play basketball with you?
David.
Sure, my name is David. By the way, nice to meet you.
The scene then froze and jumped from what I could tell to the end of the episode. Sonny.
Ah, you beat me. That was a good game. Do you want to come to my house and play?
David.
I should be getting home. My parents are probably waiting for me.
Sonny.
Come on. I'm sure they wouldn't mind, especially not now.
The VHS cut and static appeared on the screen. I didn't think anything of it and decided to go to bed. My dreams were weird. I saw Sonny, but he was staring at two missing posters on a pole. One read, David Welding missing. The next one had his parents on it. Sonny turned around, and static filled his face. I woke up, and it was morning. I went to work, and when I got home that night, I decided to watch episode 2 of Sonny's Neighborhood. The episode was titled, Accidents Happen. Something was off. It showed Sonny with a shovel, throwing dirt on what looked like a silhouette of a body. Sonny.
Silly clumsy David, I can't believe you tripped over that rock. Now you can't play with me.
The tape abruptly ended, and there was one more episode. It was titled, Will You Play With Me? I was really hesitant to watch it, but something was influencing me. I had no choice. It started with Sonny in what looked like a bedroom. Toys on the floor. Sonny's face was filled with static, and he was staring blankly at the screen. Text kept on popping up.
Will you play with me? Will you play with me? Will you play with me? Will you play with me?
And
play with me, play with me, play with me, play with me, play with me.
Over and over. I had had enough, even though I should have stopped at episode 2. I ejected the tape, grabbed the box and the tapes, and threw them in the dumpster outside. The next day, after I got home from work, I heard my VCR running. A familiar voice echoed through my apartment.
Will you play with me?